Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This week's video is going to be a speed build that I'm really excited to share with you guys. I hope it's a lot that you can enjoy and your Sims can get a lot of gameplay out of. As you've already seen by the title of this video, this build is a Bridgerton inspired wedding venue. For anyone who may be unfamiliar with Bridgerton, Bridgerton is a Netflix series which is based on a book by the same name. I haven't gotten around to reading the books, but I do plan on reading them soon. I've watched season 1 and season 2. I'm currently watching season 3, but I haven't finished it for some reason. Like I just can't, I'm not as like drawn in as I was with season 1 and season 2. And I have been like spoiled. I pretty much know everything that happens, and it's not that bad because I pretty much watched the whole season. It's just like I can't get through like the last few episodes for some reason. And from what I've seen on like TikTok, like people are saying that season 3 kind of is like the worst season so far. And I wouldn't say that season 3 is a bad season, but I don't know, there was something about like season 1 and season 2 that had me like drawn in. Like I was literally watching like multiple episodes in one sitting. Like I couldn't get anything done. I remember when I started watching the series, I had just got my desktop and like my back and neck was hurting because I would literally sit at my desk like all day, like for hours, just binge watching the whole series. Because when I first saw Bridgerton, like it popped up on my like recommended thing on Netflix, and I remember seeing it and I was like, I'm not watching this. This doesn't look like something that I would be into. Like I'm not into like romantic stuff or anything like that. But I feel like I was wrong. Like I might not know myself as much as I thought I did, because I absolutely love that series, and I feel like it kind of like shifted my whole perspective on love and relationships. And I feel like it's like raised my bar. It's raised my standard to probably like an unrealistic standard, and I really don't care. I do plan on reading the books pretty soon. From what I've heard, some people say that the book is better than the Netflix series, or there was like some details that they changed in the Netflix series compared to the book. And so I kind of want to read the book to kind of see how the story was originally supposed to be played out, especially with like season 3. I heard that that's where most of this differences come in. But I think one of the reasons why I like the series so much is that I think it like brought me back to like my teenage years and like my early childhood years in a way, because there was like a period where I was very much so into like that period of time. Well, I was like, I don't know, like it would be like different periods of time that I would get like really absorbed into, and I can't remember what period of time like Bridgerton is based on. I know it's like based on like the olden days, I guess. I don't think it's Victorian. I think it's like way before that or something like that. But I remember like my first obsession being with like ancient Egypt and like all that. I was like really obsessed with like mummies and like the mummification process and just like what it was like back in those days. And then I remember watching, I can't remember what the movie was. It was like The Other Boleyn Girl or something like that. And like for a time I was like very obsessed with like that time period and learning about like King Henry and like all of his brides and like just how it was back in those days. Because I think one of the reasons why I get like obsessed with like certain periods of time is because there will never be like, we can, you know, we have like historians and stuff like that, but like we'll never know like every detail of that time period, because like they didn't have like the technology, of course, like we did, where every bit of information that you want to find is on the internet. Like all we know is like things that were like written down or things that have been like recorded historically, and like they wasn't like recording every single thing like how we are now. Like there wasn't a way to like share information the way that we have it now. So I think one of the reasons why I become so obsessed with certain periods of time is because there's just things that we'll never know about that time, and that kind of like bothers me. So I kind of feel like I have to like go into like super deep rabbit holes trying to discover every single bit of information that I can. I also think that the series kind of like reawakened like my inner romantic. Like I feel like I've kind of like been a hater of love for a while, and like that's, I don't know, I feel like maybe for in a way I wasn't like being true to myself, because growing up I was obsessed with like love stories. Like I would remember being super obsessed with Twilight, and I remember reading like 50 Shades of Grey in high school. I don't think that really counts as a romance. I don't know what that counted as, but like it like reawakened my inner romantic or something like that. I don't know. And I say that I'm going to start reading the Bridgerton series soon, but I'm actually not. I actually plan on reading the ACOTAR series first. I've heard some pretty good things about that series. And I got the first book for it, and I'm about to start reading it after I finish the book that I'm reading now. And who knows, maybe I'll have some builds that are inspired by that book series or something. And when it comes to the romances in the series that I'm watching or the books that I'm reading, I feel like it's like if I can't have that in real life, then I'm going to get it by like getting absorbed in a story by either watching a show or reading the book, even though I haven't read the Bridgerton book yet. And I also think the way that many of us play The Sims, it's also like for us in a way to live through our Sims. And I think that's something that people outside of the Sims community make fun of people that are in the Sims community for. But I feel like with the state of the world as it is now, I feel like that's what many of us do need, is like a good escape. We kind of need a world that's actually perfect, unless you're like me and you just like to cause chaos. And I don't know, sometimes I just prefer my Sims to suffer a little bit, especially if they're suffering more than I'm currently suffering in real life. That's really nice. It's like a cathartic release or something, I don't know. Or sometimes the Sims can kind of, or especially the Sims 4, it can get a little bit boring. And so sometimes I like to like cause chaos and drama in my Sims life just for, I don't know, to give it a little bit more fun. But kind of like I said earlier, when I first saw the Bridgerton thing pop up on my recommended feed on Netflix, I was like, what is this? And I remember watching like a bit of the first episode, and it's something about it kind of like looked a little bit weird to me. And then I think I saw something, I think at first I just kept seeing like clips on TikTok about the show. Like they were kind of spoilers, but the show had been out for like years and years at that point, like before I started seeing like clips of it. And then I saw something about like them saying that like Bridgerton isn't really based on the real world, like it's based on a specific time period. But I've seen something also about like in later series they're like blending in different timelines, so it's not like you can't like pinpoint it to one specific timeline, and it's not supposed to be like historically accurate. It's like, I don't know, it's like the Bridgerton world is like a fantasy world almost. It's like a fictional world. It's almost like a storybook world or something like that. And so I feel like that's kind of what helped me get into the series a little bit more. It's almost like a, like if Cinderella was for adults or something like that, or some other type of like Disney princessy thing was for adults. And I feel like this is very similar to The Sims, where The Sims, yes, it is based on real life. It is a life simulator, but it's like whatever we decide to make of it. Like, of course, there's no such thing as vampires, and we don't coexist with werewolves. And one of the things I like about Sims 4 is that there's something in it for everyone. Like if you grew up playing with dolls and you just want to play dress up with your Sims, and you have like a wide variety of clothing in CC to be able to do that. If you enjoy like building and decorating, then the Sims build mode is like perfect for you. And then there's some of us who really enjoy telling stories, and the Sims is like a good way to like pretty much come up with any story that we want and make it come alive by playing the game. And I feel it in a way that all of our save files are like our own little fantasy worlds in a way. So the reason why this build is called the Bridgerton inspired wedding venue is because the build was inspired by Bridgerton. I was really in love with like the shots of like the front of the Bridgerton house. I think like they used like CGI or something for some of the like shots of the front of the house, but I remember like every time I would see like a building in the Bridgerton series on Netflix, I would like think about how like back in those days, like they like didn't just like build houses. Like of course they just built houses for some people, but like when it came to like the wealthy, like aristocratic people, like when it came to their houses, like they didn't just like stack bricks on bricks. Like they were very like artistic when it came to their houses. Like they put so much detail into their houses. And like if you think about like those time periods, like it probably took them forever to do that because they didn't have like the technology and advancements that we have today. And like if you compare like the houses of those times compared to today's time, like it was literally like the houses were literal art pieces. They weren't just like something that you lived in. They were like a piece of art that was like very important. And I think that's maybe why, like, having home, like I don't know, I feel like even today's times, like having a home to like pass on was like really important, but I feel like there was more importance back then, because like I said, like if you own, like I know like there's like value in like owning actual art, because I don't know, I think it like can boost your net worth or something like that. Like owning pieces of art can boost your net worth, and I feel like in a way like that's kind of how houses were back then. So when it came to my build, I really wanted to capture what I felt when I would see like little snapshots of the front of the Bridgerton household. Like I wanted, like when you maybe load up the lot, like you're kind of like in awe. And one of the things that I knew I would struggle with is like I knew I wanted to have like a lot of flowers, and I think I used a lot of the flowers from the romantic garden stuff pack. I think it's a stuff pack, and I haven't really messed with that pack too much, because I don't really find a lot of purpose in it, because it's not something that I would use in like a regular house. But I don't know, I feel like I think it took me a while to get that pack, because like I said, I didn't think it was going to be something that I would use in like everyday building. And so I was able to get it when they released it for free, and I pretty much just stick to using it for things like this, like wedding venues and maybe like parks and stuff like that, because I knew that I was going to be using a lot of flowers for this build. Because I don't know, I kind of think of flowers a lot when I think of Bridgerton for some reason. Like I don't know, I feel like flowers are very important for that series. A lot of the dresses have flowers. Like I'm like I don't know, there's like certain scenes where they're like setting up the ball for the night, and like there you get like these shots of like bouquets and stuff like that. And I remember this one scene where I think it was Daphne and her mom, and they were like setting up for the ball, and they were like talking to the servants about, or they were like assembling the bouquet of flowers, like, or something like that. So I don't know, for some reason when I think of the Bridgerton series, I think of flowers, and I knew I was going to be using a lot of floral things in this build, especially on like the outside. I really wanted to have like a beautiful garden in the backyard where your Sims can get married. And originally when I was thinking about doing a Bridgerton inspired build, at first I was thinking that maybe I could do it like a replica of the Bridgerton house in this build. Like maybe I could like look up different scenes of the house, or maybe try to find like a floor plan to use or something like that, and I could just use it as a museum and your Sims can come and visit, because I feel like that's something that maybe someone would do. Like I feel like I could definitely see someone like building a Bridgerton replica house in like real life, and have people come to the museum and like take pictures and stuff like that, or use it in some type of way like that. But I also thought like maybe it would be a really good idea to make it into a wedding venue, because I feel like that's something that a lot of people would actually dream of. I don't think I would want that, because, well, for one, I don't really plan on getting married. I don't know if that's something that I want to do anyway. And I don't know, I feel like this would be like, I don't know, for some reason I have like this phobia of like weddings. Like just today I like saw someone, like pictures of someone's wedding, and they were like doing the little toasty thing where they like wrap their arms around each other and like try to drink the wine or whatever. And I just felt like I could not do that in real life, like not in front of a bunch of people. Like I would be too embarrassed to do that for some reason. And so I also feel like I would be really embarrassed to like get married and say vows in front of people. Like I don't know, I just wouldn't be able to do it. Like I would wake up on the day of my wedding and just decide that the wedding's canceled, because I can't do it. Like I would much prefer to maybe have like a very, very private event with just me and the person that I'm getting married to, if I ever decide to get married. Right now I don't see it in the cards for me, but if I ever did, I would prefer like a very smaller ceremony. But like my Sims, they're not like me sometimes, and they would prefer to have like a very large wedding. And even though my wedding stories doesn't work half the time, it's still kind of fun to plan and give my Sims weddings. But if you've been to my channel before, if you've ever seen a speed build that I've done before, you will know that when it comes to me, I like to get multiple uses for my lots. I don't just want to have my lots be for one thing, because I don't know, I hate sitting through loading screens. And so if I can get the most out of one, because I kind of see like the places your Sims go to as like sets. So it's like I don't want to have to sit through multiple loading screens to experience a different set. Like I want to get the most out of one set as I can. And so with this build, yes, it's a wedding venue, but I also thought like maybe your Sims can come here and like they can bring the whole family, and you can have like the like events that's before a wedding. Like you can have like your wedding dinner party or something like that. Like maybe you'll have like a dinner before the wedding, and then you can have the wedding, and then the family can leave, and then your Sims can like honeymoon here or something like that. Like I just felt like I wanted to be able to like get the most out of this build as I could. So in my mind, I kind of like see it as your Sims coming here, and they're like renting this place to live for a few days or so. And one thing I want to like point out in this living room is, at first I thought maybe I wasn't going to add a TV to this build, because I felt like, of course they didn't have TVs then. They had to like find other ways to entertain themselves. Like I think I have like several pianos in here, and then I also have like the little chess table, because I felt like those are kind of like the ways that they entertain themselves, as well as like probably read a lot and probably did a lot of things outside. But I ended up using this TV that came with the Modern Lux pack, because it just looks like a painting. And I also figured, like, if your Sims are going to be here like on honeymoon, or they're going to invite their entire family here for like a couple days before the actual wedding happens, then it's fine for them to like have a TV, especially like if you're inviting like the little kids, they can come and watch TV or something. And I just thought of something. I didn't add it in the build that I'm working on right now, but I think I'm going to throw in a couple art easels, because I think that's something else that would be really good for this build. So I think before I actually upload the build to the gallery, I will throw in a couple art easels, because I'm just thinking of different things that would be fun for your Sims to do while they're here. I think the thing about this build that was inspired by Bridgerton is, of course, the outside. I did use a picture of the Bridgerton house to kind of design the outside, mostly the back of the house, and also the floor plan I pretty much freestyled. Another thing that was inspired by Bridgerton is I used a lot of blue wallpaper, because the Bridgerton, I think it says in the series that they're basically represented by the color blue. Like they wear a lot of blue, and also like if you look at pictures of their house, they had used a lot of blue wallpaper in their house. And like I did eventually like get tired of the blue. Like I was just tired of looking at the color blue and using like the same wallpaper in every single room. So I did switch it up a little bit. Like one of the guest rooms upstairs has more of like a yellowish kind of wallpaper, and for me that was kind of like representing the Featheringtons a little bit, because if you watch the series, I think their colors is like associated with the color yellow, or like greenish kind of colors, something like that. So I did have like a little bit of Featherington influences as well. In the downstairs area, there is a kitchen where I wanted it to be like really large kitchen, because to me it kind of makes sense. Like this was like, I don't know, maybe in the past this was owned by a very rich Sim, and that very rich Sim had a bunch of servants and stuff. That, and I feel like the kitchen is like, I think you see it a little bit in the series, where like the kitchen is where the servants kind of go to like catch a break. That's where the servants go to like mingle amongst themselves, because they don't really mingle amongst the richer families that they work for. And so it kind of makes sense to like have a very large kitchen for a very large house. And especially because maybe when this house was owned by someone, they probably had like a lot of children, or they probably hosted a lot of events. And so it made sense to have like a very large kitchen, because you need a lot of space for your servants to prepare dinners for those large events. There's also a small dining area in the kitchen, because there's also a bigger dining area in the house where there's like multiple different tables. And in my mind, it's more so for the like reception, or if you want to have like a dinner party before the wedding. I feel like this house would be easily renovatable. That's not a word, but if you wanted to, and you didn't want to use this house for a wedding venue, if you wanted to use it for like a personal home, I feel like it would be very easy to make it so. Like instead of like having multiple tables in the main dining room, you can have like just one dining table and just have like a very big dining room. And in a house this size, it kind of makes sense to have like a smaller kitchenette area like for breakfast and stuff. But if you want to like host a dinner party or something, then you can use the bigger dining room for that. I also think it would be a really cool idea to use this lot as like a vacation home rental, because as I mentioned, the Wedding Stories pack, it still doesn't work the way that we expected it to. So I think it would be a really fun idea to maybe like change this lot into a vacation home. I think as I'm currently building this, I did move it to the largest lot in San Sequoia. It was like on a 64 by 64 because I wanted, like I mentioned before, I wanted to have like a very large garden because to me, like that was like the main focus of this build. Like I knew, like I had like a checklist in mind of what I wanted to have on this lot, and a really big garden was on that checklist. So I thought like it would be a good idea to put it on a really big lot. But I did eventually, I think when I put this build on the gallery, it will actually be on a lot in Windenburg because that I think there's also a 64 by 64 lot in Windenburg. And originally, when I started this build, I did start it in Windenburg because I felt like it was the perfect world to build this lot on because Bridgerton, of course, takes place in, I think, London, England, or something like that. And in my mind, the world of Windenburg and I think the world that came with cottage living is Henford on Bagley. In my mind, those are like more English worlds where in my mind, I feel like Henford on Bagley, that's more like the English countryside, and Windenburg is more so like a European city world. And so I felt like I wanted to have this house be more so in like a European city. So it just made sense to have it in Windenburg versus Henford on Bagley. So by time, like I said, by the time I upload this build onto the gallery, it will be on the lot, the 64 by 64 lot in Windenburg. The only reason why I put it on the San Sequoia lot is because I felt like the lighting was better on this lot versus the one in Windenburg, and I was just having a harder time when I was doing the exterior, kind of like getting a feel for the garden and stuff because the lighting was kind of weird in Windenburg. But I think the way that I would play with this lot is, of course, maybe changing it to a vacation home and like having your Sims rent out this vacation home, inviting as many family members as you like. Because one of the things that I feel like a lot of Simmers kind of have a hard time doing is including extended family members. So, including siblings, aunts, uncles, people like that. But I feel like, you can invite, I wouldn't say you can invite as many family members as you want to the slot because I think I know there's like 3 full-size beds and then there's 2 twin-size beds, but you could invite some extended family members to the slot on vacation, and then like the first day of vacation, it's about like having the wedding dinner party like maybe a day before the wedding, and then the next day is like the actual wedding event, and then of course you can have like the reception and stuff that night, and then the vacation will probably be over, or you can like just send the other family members home and have the newlywed couples stay like for the remainder of the vacation for their honeymoon. I do plan in the near future making some changes to Windenburg because in my mind I don't really see it as a livable world. I kind of see it as like more so of a vacation world. So I do want to like make some lots that kind of like your Sims can go to, and because I rarely ever have my Sims go to Windenburg. Because there really isn't a whole lot to do except for the clubs, and I don't really like the way that they are. I've never been to a club personally, so I don't really know how they actually are, but I don't know. I just feel like I want to do something different in Windenburg to make it like worth my time to actually go there. I don't remember if I mentioned this or not, but I feel like it would be possible for you if you wanted to, instead of having this be a wedding venue, you could change it to a vacation home lot and your Sims can come here to vacation, because I feel like if there's things that you want to change, I feel like it would be easily doable. I feel like you could easily, instead of like having the main dining room be like a big dining hall for like a wedding reception or something, you could change it to where it's just like one really big dining room, and it's like it'll have a lot of space that you might want to fill up, but I don't even think you need to. Like it can just be like this is like your formal dining room, and then the kitchenette is more so like a more private dining area for like the family if they're vacationing here. I feel like a big part of playing The Sims and what actually makes The Sims a fun game to play is your ability to pretend. And I feel like the way that I would play with this is I would probably like pretend that it's like some sort of Airbnb that your Sims can rent out, and you can invite the entire family if you want to, or you can like rent it out for a wedding or something, because that kind of goes into like what I was kind of thinking of while I was building this. Like maybe this is like an old home that has been owned for like many years, and like over the years like the owner of the home now probably needs some extra money, and so in order to make that extra money, they decided to kind of like change it up a bit so that it's more accessible to other people, and like people can rent it out for weddings or vacations or whatever. And I can honestly see someone in real life doing this, where like I feel like Bridgerton became like such a huge series. I feel like there's a lot of people out there who would like to have the experience of kind of living out their Bridgerton love fantasy or something like that. And like, I don't know, maybe have like their dream wedding in the Bridgerton setting. And I don't know if like the actual house that they film in, if it's like public, if it's like accessible to the public or anything like that. So I could see like someone in real life kind of like looking at the blueprints of the house, or like decorating their house or something in that type of theme, and kind of renting it out for people to come and access. I feel like with this build, it like, if you think about like the process of me building it and like editing the video and doing the voiceover, for some reason this video took me so long to finally complete. Like, I'm still working on it right now, of course, because I'm doing the voiceover, but like just the build itself, it took me so long to complete because it is a big build and it's a lot of space because it is on a pretty big lot. I think the next few builds that I do, they're probably going to be smaller. I think I do want to do like more houses, because I think the last few speed builds that I've done, they've pretty much been like community lots and like things that your Sims can go out and do. But I think I want to like focus more on like actual livable houses for like the foreseeable future. One, because they don't take me as long to do. Well, I think one of the reasons why this build did take me so long is I am really, really bad at saving my game, and I've gotten better at it thanks to doing this build, because when I started doing this build, I actually started on my gaming laptop, and I've had that gaming laptop for a very long time, and I'm really bad at like turning off my laptop. I'm like notorious for like just letting my computer stay on all the time, and I don't think that's very good for your battery, and I'm pretty sure that's what happened to my gaming laptop battery, where like it doesn't stay on at all. Like if it's unplugged from a power source, it just cuts off completely. And sometimes I do prefer to build, especially if I'm working on a really big build, I do prefer sometimes to build on my laptop versus my desktop, because I'm able to like sit back on the couch or something and just like chill and build. But another thing also is that for some reason OBS isn't working on my laptop anymore. I don't know if it's like something going on with my graphics. So I was using like a different software, and I don't think it's the software itself. I'm pretty sure it's my computer, and I am losing like a lot of space on it. And I don't know, like there was a few times where I would be working on the build, and the software that I was using to screen record, it would just like cut off, and I didn't know that it had cut off. So there are some things that I did in this build that you won't see. Some things I intentionally cut out. Like I don't think I included me doing the bathrooms in this build, because I felt like there was like more important things in this build, and this is also going to be a really long video as well. What's long for me, usually my speed builds do go a little bit longer, but this build is longer because it's a really big build. And there was like a lot of detail that went into this build, and like I kept adding on to different ideas. Like I knew like the main key components to this build that I wanted to have. Like I wanted to have like an outside area for your Sims to get married, and then like along the lines I was like, maybe I'll do a maze, but the maze wasn't really going the way that I wanted it to, so I scrapped that. And like, mind you, you don't see me trying to build the maze, because those are like aspects of the video that I ended up cutting out, and I knew that I was going to have to cut out a lot of stuff in the speed build, because for one, there was like some stuff that I just didn't keep. Like I mentioned before, like the maze, I didn't keep that idea, so there was no point in me including that into the speed build because it's not in the end result of this build. And then in the end, I just decided to replace the maze with this little thing that it's kind of like one of those, like sometimes you'll see in wedding events they'll have like these tents, and of course we don't have like a tent like that. So that was me trying to build like this outside structure that's like a tent that you could use. Like if you don't want to have like the wedding reception or something inside the house, you can have it outside if the weather is nice. Of course there are cheats in game that you can use to make the weather nice, but I don't know, it's up to you. Like I wanted to kind of give you guys a lot of different options on how you want your Sims wedding to go. So if you want to have the dining, if you want to have the reception outside, you can, or if you want to have it inside and have it be like a Bridgerton ball, then you can do that. Another thing that I thought of when I was working on this build that I feel like you could pull it off with The Sims, but I'm not completely sure how you would go about doing it. But I thought it'd be really cool, like if you wanted to like throw your teen Sims a prom, because I feel like they don't really have enough like things to do. Like there's not like teen exclusive things for the Sims 4. And like I don't know, I just feel like the teens in the Sims 4, they don't really have a life. And I thought it would be a really nice location to like have your teen Sims have like their prom here. I'm not really sure how you would execute that, because they have prom in game and they have to like go to the auditorium that's in Copperdale or wherever that town is called, that came with high school years. And so I don't know if you could like just throw a party or something and have like your teen Sims like invite their teen Sim friends, and it could be like their quote unquote prom, but it's not like their official prom. But I don't know, I thought that would be a really cool idea on how to use this lot, but I'm not really sure how that would work. But here I am, like as you can probably see, I already started working on the backyard, which I knew was going to be like a very important like key factor when it came to this build. I wanted to have like a really nice garden and do a lot of landscaping. And like I said, I'm not really like, I don't think landscaping is like my strong suit when it comes to building. I'm more so like into decorating. I don't even think like the building or anything like that is my strong suit either. Like I mostly just prefer to like decorate and fill in the space. And for the garden, I feel like I used a lot of the what is the pack called? Romantic Garden Stuff Pack, I think it is. I used a lot of the flowers that came from that because, like I mentioned in the Bridgerton series, I feel like there is a lot of emphasis on flowers and stuff, and also gardens. I think there was like really important scenes that had to do with gardens. I don't want to like spoil it for anyone who hasn't watched Bridgerton, but I feel like a lot of, the love story kind of for some of the characters kind of involved like or started in gardens or something like that. And I like to like have that, keep that in mind. I don't know, I don't know about anyone else, but like I guess gardens are associated with romance, and I feel like maybe for some people having their dream wedding in a garden is like the most ideal situation. And I just wanted the backyard to look very full because I wanted it to be like a really good space for your Sims, especially the married Sims, or like if you want to like have the whole party reception, take selfies and pictures. I was just thinking about like I wanted every area of the backyard like to be like a really good area to have your Sims take pictures, and they'll have like a really nice background wherever they decide to take their pictures at. And instead of the maze, which I considered building in the backyard, instead of doing that because I wasn't having a good time with it and I didn't like the way it turned out, I did have like a little other, like it's going to be like a little garden space, which I will get to in the near future in this build. But I kind of like bounced around with this speed build, and I've done so like in previous builds, but I don't know, I feel like when you bounce around a lot when you're doing speed builds, it doesn't look that great like in the end result of the video. And so I feel like for video sake and like making it look really nice and cohesive, it does look better when you can like focus on one area at a time. Like you can do the whole entire landscaping and the outside of the house at once, and then you do the inside all at once. But I don't know, for me with this build, especially because it was a very large build, there was like parts of the build that I would get like so tired of doing. Like I got bored and tired of doing the interior. I got bored and tired of doing the downstairs. So like as you can see, I'm doing the backyard now, but like we still have like a lot of video left. And that's because once I finished doing the backyard, I went back on the inside of the house so I could finish the upstairs. And the thing about what you're seeing in this build is another example of what I was talking about earlier, where it's really important for me to start saving my game as I'm working on it, because there was a point where I had finished the upstairs area before I started on the garden, but I can't remember if it was because I was working on my laptop and I accidentally unplugged my charger from my laptop and it turned off and I didn't save my progress, or I think I had switched over to my desktop because I was having issues with the recording software that I was using on my laptop. And I think there was a situation where I left my game running while I was working on the build, and I thought that I had saved, but I actually didn't. And I think there was like a storm or something, so I unplugged my desktop so like it wouldn't have like a shortage or anything like that. And I didn't save the game, and I lost like the progress. Like I had pretty much finished the entire upstairs, but I lost everything because I didn't save my game. And so I think the lesson is in that is to continuously save your game. Even if you think that you've already saved it, save it again. I have gotten a lot better at like saving periodically throughout the builds. Like the build that I'm working on currently, I'm like every time I finish a room, I'm saving the game. Like if I'm gonna get up to, I don't know, get a cup of water or something, I save my game before I get up off my computer, just in case I forget and think that I saved but I didn't, or if I accidentally trip over my power plug and accidentally unplug my laptop and it completely turns off. Even when I'm like playing my game, because I don't know if anyone else's game has been like acting super crazy, but lately my game has been crashing a lot, even on my desktop, which is like, I don't know, I don't know if it's better for gaming or what, but it does have like more gigabytes and stuff, so it should be running my game pretty good. But like even on my computer, I've been noticing it crashing a lot more. I've heard maybe that's because of the Love Struck pack, but I don't even have that pack. But something about like the update like for that pack, it's been messing with people's games, so I don't know if it's because of that. But I have been noticing that my game has been kind of crashing a lot, especially in live mode while I'm just like playing my game regularly, and I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm not running any mods currently because I do know I need to clean up my mods folder, and I just haven't gotten around to doing that yet because I don't really feel like it. But yeah, even when I'm playing in live mode, when my Sims go to bed, I make sure I save the game. But this garden that you're seeing now, which I mentioned earlier, like I think this is my favorite part in this entire build, and I can't wait to have my Sims come out here and take selfies. And I did include, I was able to like sneak in a woohoo bush in this little garden. So I don't know, maybe if you're married Sims, can like sneak off and go woohoo in the woohoo bush, they can. I feel like, I don't know, like I feel like my Sims probably, that's something that they would do. And if I ever did decide to get married, I don't think I would like sneak off to the woohoo bush, but I could definitely see like myself like sneaking off to like get privacy, because I feel like that's one of the things I least look forward to. Like if I ever decided to get married, which I think is unlikely, I don't like the idea of like being surrounded by a lot of people, especially, I mean, I know like these are people that I'm related to, and I can invite, you know, people that I'm most familiar with to my wedding, and like people that I like, but even still, like I don't want to be like the center of attention for an entire day. Like to me that sounds like a nightmare. So for me, if I was to get married in a place like this, I feel like this garden would be like the perfect way to escape. Like if you're newlywed couples, they want like a moment of privacy to get away from the attention, then this is the place for them to come to. I also think like for some people, I don't know if I've heard this, I don't know if it's true, but they said that like weddings are like really romantic even for the people that aren't getting married. And it's like a really, I don't know how that will work, because I feel like, you know, technically after the newlyweds are married, that kind of makes like each side of the family like they're technically family by marriage. But I don't know, but maybe you're inviting like friends and stuff, so that can kind of like get mixed up and stuff. But I don't know, I feel like this little area is like a nice place for your Sims to kind of like sneak off to if they want like a little break from the party. I believe I started this build in May because I think I think I mentioned this, but yeah, I think I started this build around the same time I got really obsessed with Bridgerton. And I do remember starting watching the Bridgerton series in May because it was around the same time I got my new desktop, because like I mentioned, I was like glued to like watching the first two seasons, and I mostly watched them on my desktop. So it was around like the end of May, early June is when I started working on this build. And I also think like what also caused the delay in this build was like me having to do this voiceover. I knew while I was working on this build, and I knew while I was editing it, that I was going to hate the end, basically the end part where I have to do the voiceover, because yes, I am a Gemini, and Geminis are known for being talkative, I think, but I don't know, I think that's actually false. I think that Geminis do have the ability to be very charismatic, and like people have a tendency to gravitate towards Geminis, but I don't think that that means that Geminis like talking that much. Yes, we are very good talkers, but I don't think we really like talking. And I'm also don't really feel like I'm a good talker. Like I feel like I like what I have in my mind, like the things that I think about, like thinking about talking and what I want to say is easier than actually saying it. I feel like me trying to translate what's in my mind, it comes off and it ends up sounding like poop. And it also just so happened to align while I was editing this video. It also aligned with Mercury going into retrograde, which even made it even harder for me to communicate and talk effectively, I feel like, because I am influenced by Mercury because it is my ruling planet. And I'm kind of like mad that I delayed doing this voiceover for so long, because I think it was like more so of a mental thing, because when I actually started doing it, when I actually sat down to do the voiceover, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And I've really been taking my time and like just doing it like one sentence at a time, one idea at a time. And I know, like, I feel like sometimes I might be like all over the place with my voiceovers, but I think you guys kind of get what I was talking about. At least I hope that you guys were. Another thing with this garden is I did try to include a lot of light, because I wanted to make sure that this would be like a really nice location, or it would look really nice even at night. Because going back to like the Bridgerton series, like especially in season 1, I'm gonna try not to say too much, but like one of like the biggest moments for the main character Daphne Bridgerton is it takes place in a garden at night. And so I wanted my garden to have like that romantic feeling at night as well. And I think I'm almost done with the backyard and garden area. I think like I did like some final touches off camera, and there were some things that I made changes to on the inside of the house as well off camera, because I wanted to like bring in the theme of flowers on the inside as well. And I think I did do that initially, but I wanted to have like more flowers. I wanted a lot of flowers, and I think I added in a lot more flower stuff on the inside, like off camera, because I just thought it would be like really boring for you guys to have to watch me like just add flowers and stuff. I think I did initially record it, but that was like another instance where I recorded and I didn't lose the recording, but I lost the progress because something went on with my computer and I had to restart it. And that's another thing that kind of like slows down my building process as well, because it kind of like sucks knowing that you kind of finished something and then you lost the progress and then you have to like completely start over. But sometimes that's like a good thing, because sometimes looking back at what I did and having to redo it again, I'm like, oh, that was like so much better the second time. And sometimes I think you kind of like have to take a break from something that you're working on in order to like bring in a fresh perspective and like fresh creativity and stuff. Like I mentioned earlier, I was just thinking of different ways that you could use this build, and I didn't want it to just be like for a wedding, and I also didn't want it to just be a home, because I think from like me searching Bridgerton Sims 4 build, I didn't actually watch any videos, but I think what I pretty much saw was like people just like recreating the actual Bridgerton house like verbatim and like making it like a livable house. And I wanted to like do something different with my build. And so yes, this is a wedding venue, but I also feel like you could use it for a vacation home, or you could like invite your Sims relatives and stuff before the wedding, and then everyone can like have, well, not everyone, but like mostly everyone can have space to sleep. And for this room here, which is another guest room, I kind of like went back and forth if I wanted to just have be one full bed or like two. And because I kind of thought like maybe having it be 2 full-size beds would be kind of weird. Like I was thinking that this could be like the in-laws suite or something, or like if you're married Sims, well, the Sims that are getting married, they can have like the main bedroom and then both of their parents can share a room. But I was like kind of at first thinking that's a little bit weird, but then I was like, whatever, I just want to like kind of use the most out of my space as I can, and maybe I can like fit as many Sims into this house as I can. Like maybe if you want to like have this be like a vacation rental, and like you can invite like your Sims siblings, and then the cousins can have like the smaller room, even though there's only 2 twin size beds. But I was just like keeping that in mind while I was working on this build. The master bedroom is like I guess you could say it's like the honeymoon suite. And the only thing that I regret not adding to this build is like a study area, because like in the Bridgerton series, there are scenes in that series that do include like a study area or like a library area, and I kind of wish I was able to include some type of area like that in my build. I wasn't able to. And another thing that I thought of doing maybe in the future is like doing some type of build inspired by the Featheringtons. Well, I got like super frustrated doing this build because it was taking forever, because it was such a large build. I was like, nope, I'm just gonna do rooms that are kind of dedicated to the Featheringtons Featheringtons. So like the guest rooms are rooms that are influenced by the Featheringtons. So there's like a lot of yellow, green, and like floral inspirations from the room. In the like honeymoon suite, that's more like, you know, we have like our basic Bridgerton blue room. And I thought I was like kind of being clever by including a mirror with the chair in front of it, which is like kind of like a callback to season 3. And there's a scene from season 3 that involves a mirror and a chair. And so that was me kind of like including that in there. Even though out of all the seasons that have came out so far, season 3 has been my least favorite, and even still I haven't finished it. I do plan on finishing sometime in the future. Who knows, I might even use my build to make the characters and kind of like fix what I didn't like about season 3 of the Bridgertons. But I am going to wrap up this voiceover here. I hope you enjoyed watching. I appreciate you so much if you've reached this point of the video. I know it was a really long one, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I also hope you enjoy this speed build. By the time I upload this video, it will be on the gallery. I haven't play tested it, but let me know in the comments if you decide to download it and you run into any issues. Let me know and I'll try to fix it and re-upload it. But again, I appreciate you so much for watching. I would also appreciate it if you felt called to like and share this video, and if you haven't done so, subscribe, because I have more builds and let's plays coming in the near future.